actually helping themselves. The second is just raw coercion. I mean, in those cases, that kind of makes sense that there's kind of people in the streets threatening them if they don't vote along thing. And I think we have a little bit of that going on. I mean, we hear reports of members of Congress. Lisa Murkowski had an incredible quote a couple weeks ago where she said she feels she can't really express what she really thinks.
Yeah, people are
how much of that is real, I don't know, but people are reporting that. The third dynamic that he points to is a kind of, I forget what he calls it, but it's essentially like peer pressure. You kind of look at what your people in analogous positions are doing, and so there's a few key reference points or key actors, and depending on how they behave, then you mimic their behavior. That's what he finds in these historical cases. So I think each of these things,
follow the leader, cult
fourth big factor,
pretty powerful.
He calls ideological alignment, which essentially means that you actually
kind of goes with the other one. So you want to do it.
Hand over power because this person's doing what you want anyway.
Yeah.
So I think all of and he sort of shows how each of these factors played out. So I think each of these are playing out in this case, and they, and I add to that this kind of electoral motivation.
Clean up some of these emotes here.
Primary.
The uptime you imagined, made possible.
The uptime.
RS.
I don't know about my uptime.
We can. Jorge has always put the ones he loves first, but he's let his own dental care take a backseat. Time for a shift, because Aspen Dental offers $29.
So it's called ruling oneself out?
Ruling oneself out, yeah, I have it right. A theory of collective abdications.
Yeah. And the author is?
Collective abdications.
Yeah.
Ooh, I am lightless. Hold on one second.
Somewhat puzzling phenomenon.
Boom.
I would say incidentally about the Trump approval, it's a bit of a vicious cycle too, because if voters see the people they literally voted for the Senate and the House, who they particularly respect somewhat, and they're Republican governors, if it comes to that, and attorneys general,
hey,
kind of on board. Or certainly
there's some better lighting.
Whatever they mutter privately, not saying anything.
That looks much better.
And then they say, I want to get to this.
It actually looks like somebody wanted it to look that way. Designed a little bit.
Certainly not rising up in front
what I went to school for. Cinematography. I can't seem to find anything to do with it. And that was back when I actually did projects on film. I shot 16mm film. Got a couple Super 8mm cameras. Still actually work. But I haven't used them in a long time. Let's pop the chat out.
Let's call him a normie Republican. Wouldn't say on
pop
TV
the chat out. Let's get our clip tool here. Gotta figure out a way to get y'all to see me. Nobody sees me. I gotta make sure y'all see me. Yeah. That's definitely an excuse for sure. It's a problem, but it's not actually being addressed. It's being used.
FDR, a tiny bit with FDR, really, or a little bit. That somehow this is, and Lincoln's was then approved by Congress, that this is like a reasonable thing to do because of, I don't know, we have some gang members who came in along with other immigrants.
Some gang bangers with tattoos.
In my opinion, 40 Republican senators and 150 Republican House members and Republican governors and business leaders.
They ain't saying shit.
Screaming about this is
they ain't saying shit. Crazy.
And this is not within the bounds of like a reasonable debate over the unitary executive and, Humphrey's executor, whether he should be able to fire the head of the NLRB or something. I mean, but the fact that it's been met with silence and then when pressed, Barrasso dodges the question 2 or 3 times.
Dodges it, I think, is revealing, of course. Right?
Yeah. So anyway, I do feel like it's hard to ask the voters to get, they'll knock Trump's down around in the low mid-40s because there's been some natural reaction against some of the policies, I think.
Because people are losing jobs and all kinds of shit. It's terrible.
If there's not some
it's terrible.
There, what has the problems that you just specified.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with that. I mean, I do think that
you agree.
Some dip in poll numbers,
agree with that.
The stock market helps, but ultimately, that's you referred to our op-ed from earlier this week in the New York Times. That's really the whole point of that op-ed, is to say that at the end of the day, we can't really rely on voters alone to do this, and even people, going out and protesting on the weekends, which is really important.
Good, but it ain't enough.
In fact, really, what's been striking is the degree to which the people with the most power, and so in some
don't
sense,
give a fuck, are on board.
Are also, as a result result of that, maybe the most unwilling to speak out. And having major civic leaders, whether union leaders, business leaders, religious leaders, speaking out forthrightly and clearly. I mean, that's part of the issue, is not being clear enough in the condemnation.
It is oogle. No, back up.
Gives cover to
Back up.
everyday citizens, helps them frame what's happening, because what's happening is quite confusing.
Back up. We don't need that.
People. They really sort of realize if these powerful, I mean, the converse of this is if these powerful actors with a lot of resources at their disposal aren't going to criticize it, then why?
Yeah, then who the hell can?
So I think it's really essential.
Yeah,
and I guess
that's not a good feeling.
It does seem like there are certain moments where there are openings where the words and actions of civic leaders and political leaders can have a bigger impact. You know, that once kind of normal kind of day in politics, things are pretty frozen. People are kind of pretty set in their ideas. They've cast a vote. They kind of want to remain loyal to that vote. Don't want to be able to justify the vote they've made. But there are certain moments.
Well, they move on. People just are. They do shit. They're not all paying attention to this stuff.
How is it that they're thinking about this? I mean, a little bit in line with the book that I described. You look not only to your peers and friends and family members and neighbors, you also look to what people who you respect, what they're saying. And so I think, for instance, the January 2021 period was one of those moments where people, it was pretty kind of, you know, most voters sort of felt this was totally out of line, kind of trying to form their judgments about it.
Out of line, over the line.
Muted in their criticisms or talking out of both sides of their mouths.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, okay, well, I'm going to now formulate my view.
I should watch Big Lebowski. I haven't seen that in a long ass time.
As critical as it might otherwise have been. So, you know, I think it's important to.
And I've seen this movie so many times back in the day.
Moments of flux and unsettled public opinion are, but I think that's what we should.
There's like festivals people hold for, like the Dude festivals and all kinds of stuff. He's like become a religious icon to some, particularly when I was living out in Montana.
Civil society, civic leaders, a little more addressed to that, civic institutions,
posters and all kinds of stuff. It was wild. Super weird.
It affects the political leaders and vice versa. If John Barrasso got 20 phone calls from his top donors this afternoon saying, "You got to speak up. This is intolerable.
You must speak up."
If he was watching the business leaders he's most responsive to, and not just business leaders, but people, Wyoming civic leaders and so forth, and church leaders and educational institutions, all, kind of saying this is out of the question. What's happening with to some immigrants and so forth, he would be behaving differently, and if he behaved differently, they would then be more willing to behave differently.
Yeah, people, the avalanche needs to start, and people need to make sure they give people outs. Because if you can't let people have an out, they're gonna dig in even harder.
I go to some of these panel discussions only maybe.
I know it doesn't feel great. You want to smush it all back into their face, but they're not going away. That ain't gonna work.
It's a little hard to ask the public to do it when, I mean, of course, the people in the room I was in had agreed with you and me, and they were speaking up, so I wasn't trying to be critical of them. But
man, his speaking cadence is very challenging for me to hear. It's not like a mumble. It's I think it's just fast. And then there's those weird little tangents that he does. I struggle.
General kind of quiet and caution. I don't know. I feel like the elites are really. You wrote about this.
It kind of ping pongs. He speaks kind of how my brain thinks sometimes, a little bit all over the place, and a little bit peppering in all kinds of extra details.
We call it kind of, they play in the political process, they play a gatekeeping role, certainly, in choosing who the candidates are going to be. But just in the sort of dynamics of the current moment as well, I think voters, that it's a confusing world, and voters are trying to make their calculations.
It's a sick, sad world.
And this is a very important.
Anybody know what Daria, the show Daria? Any other olds around here?
I guess two couple of things. One, that there's evidence.
I don't. No, sir, I don't like it.
In other contexts, so so in Germany in 2024.
Let's keep it going. Keep it going. What? Let's actually just do this. Who's buzzing me here? Oh, my phone. My watch died. Watch died.
German citizens with migration back then. And once this came to light,
I was out walking around Chicago all day today. Took my wife and daughter and got a foreign exchange student living with us. We all went into the city to the Frida Kahlo exhibit at the Art Institute. It's pretty great. There's like 100 pieces, some of her stuff, some of Mary Reynolds, I think her name was. She was a bookbinder, which I never knew was like, I mean, of course I know books got bound, but I didn't realize it was like high art at one point, which is kind of cool. Got to see, what else was there? Nighthawks was there. I got to see Nighthawks. Dorian Gray, that was pretty sweet, which is super creepy.
So I think these kind of loud vocal statements at a critical moment really are powerful. But the precondition.
We walked around Millennium Park, saw the bean.
Civic leaders of all sorts, university leaders I haven't mentioned.
Went and had a fish boil.
Clear understanding of what are the red lines.
Walked down by the water.
And what kinds of things are
very nice.
Policy disagreements.
Especially.
Really show some forbearance on the policy issues.
I'm not always the most best with my memory on days like these.
But there's certain things that are kind of red lines for just the basic survival.
I did good this time.
So we need to have the kind of conceptual apparatus, and that's the kind of conversations maybe we need to be having with leaders. What are
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Nope.
So people need to have awareness, essentially, what democracy is at the end of the day. So, need to know a little political theory, I guess, is what I'm saying. Because otherwise, it just all gets very muddled, and you sort of, you're engaging in politics. Business leaders don't want to be partisan. They don't want to, be perceived as taking one side over another. And so in a two-party system, this gets quite tricky. But if we have very clear criteria of what counts as red lines in a constitutional democracy, then I think we can kind of move forward with that.
It's funny that you mentioned the AFD because, for me, I sort of was so startled when, not when Musk actually, but somewhat startled when Musk came out literally for the AFD in the election, not generally saying, gee, maybe they've been misunderstood a little bit. There's some decent people in the AFD, whatever version of that you want. And then Vance echoed him, and now Vance and Rubio have echoed endorsements in effect of the AFD very recently in terms of the German legislation that the AFD thinks disfavors it because they want to keep an eye on terrorists and anti-democratic
terrorists.
I feel like, and people just haven't. But that got
them terrorists.
It's like the vice president of the United States.
That word's kind of become a joke ever since. Man, it was used so often back in the Bush 9/11 era. It was exhausting, and now it's just getting used all over again. And actually the ways that we feared it would back then. I feel like remember protested back then about some of the stuff that Patriot Act and this, that, and the other, Classification of somebody makes you able to strip their rights. It's always like, it'd never be used. It's only for certain scenarios. It's like, okay, well, this is a scenario, small gang being blamed to be a national army. I don't know. Seems odd. But what do I know? I went to film school. What is going on? What did I do?
One thing I'll say that, because this is a little bit frustrating, I find in the American debate. Actually, I think this has just come up in the last couple of days that the U.S. Senator said, we shouldn't be.
That is unacceptable. Let's see. Can I?
After the AFD, because this is a violation of free speech or something like this. So, there's two different kinds.
Want to revert it back? Want to go back? We have to go back.
In the German Constitution.
Okay, I'm getting tired of you. Getting tired of you. Ooh, is this the finals? I didn't see the finals. Yeah, let's watch these grand finals.
Life insurance that fits your budget. And
all right. Oh boy. Oh, he's still doing Blanca. I wonder if he brought Bison out at all this tournament. Mena RD. Come on, Mena. Dominican Republic versus Japan, grand finals. Ooh, two classic characters too. These dudes are just godlike with their play. It's unbelievable. I don't like any of this. I'm just gonna reset the whole goddamn thing. Okay, let's start over here. Maybe I try to keep more of that hair. Maybe we don't do a rubber background. Gotta cash out the round. You gotta get that damage. Just take the dub, move on, deal with it. That's right. You can't, who did that? Oh yeah, yep. See Mena. Big brain Mena. Big brain for the big back boy. The strings. Look at them just dancing. They're just waiting for the first move. They're so nervous. That's one kind of scary design idea that is coming out as a result of this game. Is it's sometimes the strongest move is not doing a move, and that's an odd thing because you can get in the position where it's both players' most strong move, and then now you're in a stalemate. So it's like one has to give the other an advantage to progress anything. And so then if you're at a life lead or disadvantage, then that balance is all kinds of changed, and it's yeah, kind of rough, kind of like this outline. It's kind of, let's try it. Let's just straight up try it again. Boom. Bing. What did I do? Hey. That ain't that bad. Maybe I just like take this piece off and clean that up and just leave it. Just leave it. Oh, and then also make it just the head. Ooh, is he gonna do it? Yeah. Take that. Oh, he took it. Dang. All right, he's up. But he's in losers though, so he's got to win twice. Mena's on winner's side, so he's just gotta win the 3. Ryu's gotta get 6. Ooh. Always take the throw. Correct. Correct, because a throw, you cannot get combos. If you do not take the throw, you can get big boy comboed. And you're not going to have a good time if you're getting big boy comboed all day. It's not the good kind of combo either. Ooh. Maybe it was always just a little ace in the hole. He was waiting for the nerfs to come, and then he just drops it now that it's getting a little bit more leveled out. Chomp, 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 chomp. Ooh. Yeah, and there's still enough life to, yeah. Oh, especially, yeah. Ooh. I guess they're going to be changing that perfect parry. You got to hold back, and depending on if it's high or low, you got to block high or low at the same time. See, ooh. Yeah. So you got to not only get the timing on the button press, but you also got to get that, you got to hit that 4 button, the, back arrow, or back at the same time to get it. Which, man, that's going to be tricky. I don't know if that's better. I like the standing crouching. Why? That seems like that would just be enough, but they actually added a whole nother layer to it. Woof. It's going to be hard. It's going to make it way more rare. But I guess that's good because it's a super cool effect that if they make that a rare effect in moments like these when you're at tourney, when someone busts one of them out, it'll be a big deal and the place will lose their minds. Wow. I don't even know how you would train for a Blanca if you have to play him. Who else can do what he does? Dude. Hiya. Wake up something. See, that looks jank. That don't look good. I guess we just leave it smoky like that. Ooh. Yeah, just all of it. All of it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you gotta kick toes, man. That's what I'm telling you. That's the move. That's the pro move.
As soon as I graduated with my bachelor's, I didn't really have that opportunity to actually realize that goal until now. I'm really excited that I didn't end up having to sacrifice my ability to get a graduate degree.
Yeah. Boom, boom. I hate that little poke, man. Gotta get it done. Ryukichi.
That was really sick.
I'm still match game, you not. Oh my god. Okay, drive rush. No, a little bit too far for the second crouching medium kick there. Yeah. Activate level 2 lightning beast. We're taking you to the corner. My little toy is about to come play.
Yeah, getting lightning beast this early is great for Mena because that means he might be able to build some meter back to him. He doesn't kill him too quickly.
Nice. Dragon Lash flame right there. And that was actually really smart from Mena because he realized that you kept waking ODDP in the same scenario.
Ooh,
Wow, we are
way too soft.
playing some Street Fighter 6.
Damn, these dudes are going ham. Yeah, they're going crazy.
Heavy kick again.
Good counter Pogba in.
Oh, walk up perfect parry.
Walk up perfect parry
I'm
on that
surprised
is
he did the step
ridiculous.
kick instead of corner carry.
Oh, he comes out, but he gets the anti-air anyway and catches him trying to reach Mena RD on championship point.
Oh my god.
I'm down, bruh.
RD gonna be your back-to-back Evo Japan 2025 Street Fighter 6 champion. There it is, DPOS. Finally, the first one in the set.
Called for it, Justin. Needed to represent it.
Yes.
Oh, but man, now will Mena do the hop next time he does it.
We might see the hop next time. And I love these light confirms. The light confirms are really stopping Ryukichi a lot.
And there's a crouch strong confirm there into the drive rush.
Yeah,
Big buffer.
well,
And Mena's building his next level 2 right now.
we're gonna get it next situation. This is a guess for game, everybody.
You
In
better
this
guess right.
scenario, this install,
Nah.
he survive this level 2 install. If he doesn't, it is game over for Ryukichi.
Legitimately here. And again, he's trying to bait something out. He's not even using the lightning beast follow-up. Oh,
Ooh.
We didn't spend the bar yet.
No.
Tries to bait something, but Menardi doesn't need to. He can afford to take a throw there.
showing so much respect. The fireball.
He's trying to scratch. Ryukichi needs to somehow land the CA right here, though.
I love that fireball too because it was as
Ooh.
Peter was running out. But Mena now one hit away. Oh, and there it is. Mena RD.
Crouch jab, new OP move. Nerf, please. Champion.
Popped up on the screen on stage with him.
Bro, he's like, where's my hat?
Yeah, for real. He's like, yo.
He's like, yo, get my hat, get my hat.
He was like, Red Bull wants me to wear this. Put this on.
Yo, Menardi, go for it, Sherry.
Beautiful play from Mena RD there, just taking it with the crouch jab, just scratching at his feet. But that was the very last sequence to actually catch
Dang,
his
Mena, back to back.
Ryukichi.
With the Chase mobile app, things move a little more smoothly.
It's got the two-peat.
Deposit checks easily and send money quickly.
Maybe he'll get it next year too. That'd be
That's
sweet.
convenience from Chase.
Get 3 in a row.
You ever bought Reese's while eating Reese's? That is some boss behavior.
Boss. So boss. Nope. Nope, 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 nope,
Hey
nope,
guys,
nope,
it's me,
nope,
Sam
nope, nope,
Stein,
nope, nope.
managing editor at
Go.
Lord.
What else we got? What else we got? Do you have, what is that, Virtua Fighter? What do we got going on with some Virtua Fighter? Virtua Fighter. I don't know much about this. I played Virtua Fighter 2 back on PS2. Jeez, over 20 years ago probably with my brother. And wow. Max is so surprised. Wow. The pack.
Dude, it's Wolf.
It's so
Wolf Hawkfield.
oh, he's huge. Dude, he's huge. Whoa. That looks good.
Holy shit, dude.
Oh.
Bro. The audio?
The silent flex. It's so intimidating.
Yes.
Wow. Around the world.
Returning to the ring, a legend in his own right, a man who once dominated wrestling, who redefined what it means to be a fighter, and what dark design of fate has led him to face tonight. The very team that spelled an end to his glory days, that led to his controversial retirement, that shocked the world. Free from his pack tonight, he's hunting solo. The force of pain.
Man, he's huge. Looks good.
God
Damn.
redesign, dude.
I don't even remember what he looked at, man. It was over 20 years ago since I saw played the last one.
Is direct
One
confirmation
homie.
that we will be getting actual new VF6 news in a few hours, chat. It ain't gonna be for a t-shirt or a hat, dude. Ganondorf is in VF.
Yeah, he definitely looked like that, didn't he?
We're doing it. I am so sick and goddamn tired of these 6 to 7 a.m. directs and shit. Why do they have this shit so early? I swear, dude. Okay. Damn, we're watching a Virtual Fighter direct, bro.
Damn. That's pretty cool. Bro. Konnichiwa.
That's like the lead producer. Yeah.
こんにちは。レガシーバーチャファイタープロジェクトプロデューサーの青木です。本日はバーチャファイターの最新情報を皆様にお届けいたします。よろしくお願いいたします。早いもので
Virtua Fighter 2. I remember that. I just had no idea what I was doing back then. Just mashing buttons. I've been terrified of fight games just because it takes such a level of emotional maturity to accept losing over and over again, and I did not have that when I was younger. Not in the slightest.
Yes. Oh, damn.
So I just avoided them. Played shooters. Looks like Lena here's got a mohawk. His shirt looked like the letters were floating like they were computer generated. Weird.
Okay.
What's wrong with my eyeballs?
Yeah. Is this gonna be a sizzle reel? Alright, it's the Hawk trailer. I like it that Japanese Gary Oldman is telling me about talking about Virtua Fighter. Please tell me this is not the only new piece of media that they're releasing for Virtua Fighter 6. Please. It's gotta be more. Yeah, there is his boobs are jiggling, bro.
Jiggle boob. He's got some man boob physics. Man boob physics. Boom.
Ganondorf.
He does look like Ganondorf. Wow. It's so funny he caught that right away like that. Okay, why does it do that? Like adds all this weird shit every time I click onto the thing. I don't get it. Auga?
It has always been Awu. The backstories and motivations of the characters weren't well known. Hey man, Jeffrey's Shark says otherwise. Oh. Oh no, they're showing the old test footage in the background. Oh no.
Why is that bad?
ウルフに何があったのか、どうして彼は戦っているのか、そうした細かいバックボーンをもとにアーティストたちと議論をしながら今回のウルフのデザインを制作しています。
I think he looks cooler with the jacket.
まだまだ開発途中ですが、そんなゲーム制作の一端を皆さんにご覧いただくべく一つの映像をご紹介させていただこうと思います。それではどうぞ。
They're still showing like the test footage in the background, so we still haven't seen how like the modern version of the game looks.
流派をそのままビジュアル化したようなキャラクターデザインが多かったんですけど、今回はその龍が如くスタジオの強みでもあるそのナラティブの部分というところで、設定だったりキャラクター性、そのバックボーンにあるそのキャラクター自体のみたいなところをすごく重要視してまして再構築
Oh man. Okay, yeah, no, don't. Oh, they got the little figurines there. Oh, what do we got here? What's Max talking to? Oh, Fakrumam. Fakuram. What's Mr. Bill Gates have to say? Mr. Bill Gates.
What do you think about the state of the global economy, particularly the U.S. economy? Ken Rogoff.
What you think about the tariffs, Mr. Bill Gates?
Says that to him, the worst thing about U.S. current economic policy is
It was unnecessary. Yeah.
mistakes, but they were during a big crisis, a great recession, or Nixon facing the
This was just some YOLO shit.
Even Smoot-Hawley was after the financial crash of '29, after the Great Recession, trying to figure out what to do. These tariffs we've just imposed on ourselves, how damaging do you think it is?
Quite.
Well, the big concern I have
Quite.
is we've created a lot of uncertainty.
Seems to be the word of the
We need to understand the policies
era.
20 years, not
What's going on with this hair?
days or even 4 years. And so the notion of, okay, what is the structure, particularly in a time of AI where the labor substitution, both white collar and blue collar, is going to start to change the economy, I think it's a bad time to interject so much uncertainty. And, you know, this is not a agreed set of things or a carefully discussed set of things. You know, what's going to happen with pharmaceuticals or electronics? You know, I open the paper every day wondering.
You would, wouldn't you, Mr. Bill Gates?
Uncertainty means that investments don't take place.
How worried are you about the future of the U.S. economy?
You know, I think there's a lot of resilience in the U.S. economy. You know, we've seen even with this uncertainty, the jobs numbers have not been that bad. I'm not an expert on that. I mean, another 1 or 2% of growth. You know, for me, it's about the cutting edge and saying, okay, can the U.S. Stay in the lead? And, you know, I do think being friendly to other countries, so they want to, you know, they don't think we're going to withdraw our technology in some sudden way. That's important. And then, you know, being an exemplar, you know, briefly, there were gigantic tariffs on very poor African countries. And, you know, I don't see what the benefit of that would have been. You know, I'm particularly focused on our role in lifting up those in greatest need, and the potential tariffs would have been particularly
Oh, they're not potential.
Do you think the tech bans on China work, or do they make the Chinese more determined to come up with their own local versions, as with DeepSeek, as with, you know, Huawei with the Ascend chip? I mean, are the bans having, in a weird way, the opposite effect?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they have forced the Chinese in terms of chip manufacturing and everything to go full speed ahead. Basically, it's very hard in the world we live in with, you know, open source software and everything. The Chinese are not going to get substantially ahead of us, and we're not going to get substantially ahead of the Chinese. The AI technologies will be available to the world. And people can
Open source seems to be the way they're going.
in their own way. The notion that it was going to be super unique to us,
Yeah, not gonna work.
that they needed to make their own chips, and they're making great progress on doing that.
All right, Bill Gates, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
That's a little bit of a weird answer. Man, some commercials have some pretty good music. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Bill, you've always been, I think,
Nope.
Basically an optimist.
Today we're going to be speaking to Maurice Vinton, a former U.S.
Some Dozers.
and Doge staffer. Maurice, so great to have you on. Just to
Doge staffer.
Pre-Doge.
What the fuck is Doge?
What sort of work were you doing there, and what sort of efficiencies were kind of within your purview to try to find?
The U.S. Digital Service was founded after the healthcare.gov collapse, and it's effectively what they wanted to do was to bring all of this great technical talent into government to help build more efficient and more effective services. The projects ranged on a whole spectrum of things. Some of the earliest projects were making it easier for veterans to get their services. That's actually something that the U.S. Digital Service team was still working on when I left, to doing a lot of support during coronavirus and supporting the CDC. A wide range of things, helping people get their benefits more effectively, doing a lot with CMS.
Yeah, I worked for the VA. Well, for a data company that we processed VA paperwork, and I'm pretty sure their contract's been pulled now too. So that's processing claims, processing, death certificates of, veterans who've passed, or all kinds of stuff. It was technically the VA's mail room. They had offloaded it to this little company I was at in Wisconsin.
I was really lucky enough in my 4 years at the U.S. Digital Service to support child tax credit expansion, and then the IRS free tax filing product called Direct File.
So, in comes Doge. Trump's inaugurated. Doge is created. How does Doge first make its presence known in your day-to-day work?
So we didn't know that USDS was going to turn into the U.S. Doge service, and that evening,
So they just flipped a service.
We got invitations to meet our new Doge colleagues. We were told that everyone was really excited to meet us, and so the next day, the first day of the administration, all USDS employees were brought in for 15-minute interviews with Doge, and that was our first acknowledgement that, oh, okay, so this is our first set of interactions. Beyond that, there wasn't a lot of involvement in the work. And actually that kind of remained true for the majority of that was January, I left in March.
Yep.
The majority of the time, there was not a lot of engagement, although it did pick up around mid-February when Amy Gleason stepped in as the acting administrator of Doge. That's kind of when, priorities became clear and the things that they wanted us to work on.
And what were those things, and kind of what sort of impact did that have on your day-to-day?
So the way that I think about this actually is it's almost like there's different Doges.
What are you? Why are you here?
So
Go away.
U.S. Digital Service Doge.
What's happening?
A lot of the work.
What's happening? Stop.
More engineers and fewer designers because they fired a lot of our designers.
Yep.
So that people were.
Why can I not move these damn?
State Department on passport renewals and and things like that, there was still a direct file
Yeah, whatever. They're fine. They're fine.
Just
They're
again,
fine.
the makeup of that team
They're fine. Well, how are these guys?
They fired a bunch of people on Valentine's Day. But then there's probably the more public-facing Doge, which is, you know, the individuals that go ransack federal agencies. And there was no overlap of former USDS into Doge colleagues that went and joined those efforts. It was almost two separate efforts.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can. First up,
when
Escape.
this started, was there a time
Background color green.
this genuinely does seem like a good faith effort to make government more efficient, to find and root out inefficiencies? Was there some honeymoon period where you thought, you know, I think back to the Office Space movie where the consultants come in, and there's this brief moment where it's like, maybe these consultants are going to be great for the employees here, before you learn that they're there to find people to lay off. Was there some honeymoon moment?
So after the election, I was cautiously optimistic, and I wanted to believe that
Okay, so you
really wanted to make government work better, and I was really excited about that. I was excited and open-minded about it. So for example, you know, I'd heard
go away, and I need now to go to you.
Services, and they were looking at the payment systems, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because people like me, when, you know, old USDS, we would be coming in to make those payment systems get your tax refund more, you know, more seamlessly and quicker, or fundamentally take a $1
All right.
Medicaid payment from Medicaid.
Let's go to.
And how can we make that more effective? How can we make that
Let's
more
go
seamless
to.
on both ends? That's what I thought. So I was interested and intrigued, and then there was no honeymoon after, you know, after the inauguration, because it became very clear that actually what Doge wanted to do was to using the payment system as an example, was to use it to enforce like an ideological belief, effectively. Say, okay, I don't feel like I'm going to pay this. I don't really like what it is, versus actually it's congressionally mandated and you have to pay it. And that was a very different tactic than what I thought, like, if, you know, what people like me would have done to make it more effective. And instead they come in and say,
Gonna
no,
work, is it?
we're gonna pick and choose which
It's not gonna work. I gotta use that backdrop again. Damn it.
It was immediately clear after the inauguration when they started turning out payments.
Actually, let's also
with any kind of conversation, in the sense of someone would say, hey,
take all of these guys.
And then somebody like you who was a pre-existing staffer says, oh, we
out.
have to. Like, did those conversations happen, or was it basically they got control of systems and completely
And then
consultation with folks like you, they just made these decisions?
So those conversations did happen, but they were with, you know, cabinet. So the acting Secretary of Treasury actually was the individual having those conversations. And so it wasn't, you know, necessarily people like me from the U.S. Digital Service, but it was people who were responsible for that entire department, that Bureau of Fiscal Services and the Treasury Department.
Bars and tones. Image.
That's not how this works. You know, our payments.
It really doesn't matter.
We process them, we pass them on.
Let's go 1080p.
And then, so now it wasn't people like me, but it was more, you know, the officials that were there who understood the policy in great detail.
We've heard these stories about Doge staffers being 20-year-old, like, online bros. And Fox News even did a thing where they sat down at a table with Elon Musk and a few of them. And yeah, they seem like, you know, 22, 23-year-old online bros. But that doesn't necessarily mean that was
online bros.
In every situation. Did that match your experience in terms of the people that came in?
Yeah, and it's not so much about age. Actually, it's about experience and intent. So there
copy.
But really, it was more that, you know, when you run an 11-person startup, that's a very different scale than running the IRS which has 8,000 employees, within an organization of 100,000 employees. It's now a lot smaller,
Well,
unfortunately.
actually, let's go
But
back.
That's a different scale. So it's less about
Shit.
age and more about, when you roll out something to maybe a couple hundred users, you don't need a backup plan because no one really uses it. Whereas with the IRS or Social Security, you actually need backup plans. It's actually at a scale that is hard for most people to
Damn, I think I just lost that.
because it is so significant.
Oh.
And it's not just the size, right? It's not just the hundreds of millions of people that interact with these government agencies. It's also the necessity. People rely on their tax refunds. For a lot of families, that's their biggest check they get every year is their tax refund. For Social Security,
Hell yeah. Big save. Big save.
And you need to have a backup plan. And so
Good work, Adobe. You're so smart.
More just we're talking about two completely different
Super
scales,
smart, Adobe.
complexity and experience. And the people that I worked with definitely did not have that.
I appreciate it.
In terms of layoff within your specific group, I mean, did your team and immediate department get downsized quickly?
So on Valentine's Day, Doge laid off, immediately fired 43 USDS employees. And that was without warning or we were one of the first teams to go through that kind of cut outside of USAID and some of the other larger stories. And primarily, we know it since it was coming. It was 8 o'clock on a Friday night. A lot of people didn't have their work phones on them, immediately cut off from systems. It was really chaotic. It was really sad. It was a holiday weekend. People were spending time
I gotta figure out a little bit of a
here you are scrambling
message.
to find out if you still have a job. And
Let's
so
have it say.
I was on detail to the IRS, and it was significant. The initial layoffs for the probationary employees, 7,000 employees, and these are people who live all over the country, right? So not just here in DC. There was like 250 people in Kentucky, 300 in Utah. So all over the country were laid off, and those probationary employees are, a lot of them were technical because we were bringing them on. A lot of them, were getting promoted into new positions. And so that's what was happening when I left. And it was just
my leg.
The individuals that had to go through that.
Getting too old to sit like that, and I keep
absolutely
freaking doing it.
Remains incredibly low.
You're of course no longer working there. Can you talk about your kind of departure? Did you leave voluntarily? Was your job ultimately cut?
I did leave voluntarily. So I decided to stay after, kind of all this tumult because I really wanted to make a case for the direct file project and product. We were in the middle of filing season and tax filing season, and thousands of people were were using direct file and loving it. So it was available in 25 states this year. So it was kind of in its second year, still in its infancy. And the feedback that we were getting from people was amazing. It was going really well. And so I wanted to make that case. Also, so there's the users, right? The people that loved it. But then internally, direct file was built by effectively a startup team within government. So the kind of skills that we thought Doge would want and want to bring to the table and want more of, that's what we thought we were. So we thought we had a chance. And so really kind of explain that there's all these benefits to this team, not only the taxpayers, but also to the IRS as part of any modernization effort or any technical effort that they wanted to do moving forward. And it became very clear, actually, early March, that they wanted to kill direct file. That was a recommendation that was
Be right back. Coffee puppy potty.
And we didn't tell anybody about that because we wanted to
Break.
not disturb our filers as they were literally in the middle of filing their taxes.
Right.
But once I realized that there was no kind of convincing or trying to highlight all the different benefits, that was the primary reason I left.
For people who don't know about direct file, I've talked before about how this exists and a lot of people don't seem to know about it. I believe it's income limited, right? If your income is under, remind us what it is, you actually don't have to pay anyone to file your federal taxes. It can be done by law you can do that for free.
Exactly. So there's two different programs within the IRS. Direct File is a free, you file directly with the IRS. It is designed with users, so really easy to use. All the words are super straightforward and cleared by IRS counsel, so it's highly accurate. It's a great product. And it's not so much an income limit. I think there was one this year, maybe, I forget what it was, so I don't want to say the wrong amount.
Yeah.
But it was actually more about your tax complexity. So if you have a rental house and a second house, it's probably not the right product for you. So it was based on your tax complexity and not just an income number. It was just in its second year, so we wanted to have a slow rollout to make sure, is this a thing that people want and is it going to work? We didn't want another healthcare.gov approach, on our hands. And so last year it was a pilot year. It was 12 states, and this year is 25 states. It was a bummer. Last year there was a lot of comms, a lot of partnership with the Treasury Department and the White House. And this year, neither organization talked about it at all. So a lot of people didn't even know it existed, and that confusion kind of tracked through filing season. But the people that used it loved it. I was getting texts from, people who were like, my kid did this in 10 minutes. It takes the average person 9 hours to file their taxes.
Right.
So it was a huge success.
It seems that I'm looking at some of the requirements. If you have income, for example, for LLCs or partnerships where you get like a K1, you wouldn't be able to use it. It is less about income. There are some extra restrictions if your income is over $125,000. It's very clearly laid out on the directfile.irs.gov.
Of course, he knows all the deets,
check that out.
the super deets.
We've been speaking.
I don't even know what he's
with
talking
Maurice
about.
Vinton, former U.S. Digital Service and Doge staffer. Thanks so much for your insights and kind of giving us a sense of what was happening there behind the scenes.
You're welcome. It's great to connect. Thanks so much.
Your W-2 isn't just a form. It's the key to understanding
That
your taxes.
one.
This edition of Tax Tips by TurboTax breaks it down for you. Your W-2 is the form your employer uses to report your earnings and taxes withheld from your pay. If you work as an independent contractor, meaning you're self-employed, you might receive a 1099 instead. Employers should send your W-2 by January 31st. The key information for preparing your federal tax return is in boxes 1, 2, 17, and 19. Box 1 reports your taxable wages, including salary and bonuses. Box 2 reports the federal income taxes withheld from your paychecks throughout the year. This is important because the amount of tax withheld often determines if you'll receive a refund. If the taxes you owe after completing your tax return is less than the total amount reported in Box 2 of your W-2, you should receive a refund from the IRS since you've already paid more tax than you owe. Your W-2 also includes information that can
Oh my goodness, lady, you're driving me crazy.
Itemize your tax deduction.
My meds must be running off. I'm feeling pretty autistic right now. What is going on? Season 3 leaked. Nah, I don't want to know. Stop acting weird. It's weird. Okay, let's see what they got to say. What they got to say for the Dems to fix. What do we got to fix for the Dems?
And the purpose of this podcast is to talk about solutions to the problems we face, not just fixate on the problems. And joining us this week is one of, I think, the preeminent policy thinkers in America right now, Matt Iglesias. He is practical, he is principled, and he has advanced ideas that the Democratic Party and really all our politicians should listen to, advocating ideas around populism, early advocate of the abundance agenda, and something called common sense Democrats, which I heartily subscribe to. Matt Iglesias, it's great to have you here.
It's really good to be here.
Let's talk about common sense Democrats. This literally was a slogan I ran under. That is not the origin of this conversation, but you really, have been advocating a different direction for the Democratic Party. Popularism is a chunky word, but the idea that you should be backing policies that are popular, radical idea for winning elections. So delineate what you mean by common sense Democrats and the kind of agenda and ideas behind that.
Sure. I mean, look, there's a lot to this. There's lots of different words that are floating around out there. Common sense is a term that I saw people like you, people who need to communicate with voters using, rather than, it's not an intellectual term. It has a sort of willful lack of preciseness to it. But I think in the context of the Democratic Party, what it signals to people is an approach that is a little bit more divorced from, say, academic fads, right? You are trying to signal to people in one turn of phrase that I'm somebody who lives in the real world, that I know people who own and operate businesses, that I know people who interact with public services, and things like that, and are not entirely hung up on ideology and things like that. So in practice, I laid out a bunch of ideas that, I think make sense. Some of them connect to what people are calling the abundance agenda, quote unquote, but also they relate to questions of moral and cultural values that I think, the abundance conversation likes to sidestep, but that are really central and structural to our politics. And this has to do with patriotism, it has to do with law enforcement and crime, and, which I think is a big one, right? There's a kind of a construct of criminal justice reform that, was cooked up in philanthropic circles that has some real merit to it, but that I think to a lot of people, makes it sound like your primary interest in law enforcement and the criminal justice system is on, like, being nicer to criminals rather than a normal person's worldview, which is that, like, the main point of the criminal justice system is to have there not be crime, and that, like, anything else you say or do on this has to, like, flow downhill from this kind of common sense view, which relates, of course, most seriously to the most serious crimes, but includes, normal stuff. Like, I live in a city, right? I live in Washington, D.C. I grew up in New York. You want the park, the sidewalk, the subway, the bus, the places where people congregate to be a nice place for the mainstream users of those services. Not, of course we care. I'm a Democrat. You wouldn't be a Democrat if you didn't have some concern for the vulnerable. But there can be these very ideological constructs where it's like the heroin addict sleeping in a tent has to be put ahead of, in line of, like, normal people who, like, just want their kids to go to the playground. And, like, and that's crazy, so common sense, isn't just about heroin addicts and playgrounds, but it's about, a worldview in which we are taking what is the kind of mainstream participant in the world, and how can we serve that person rather than an ideological niche.
If you screw that up, nothing else matters. If you don't get the big things right, the little things don't matter. And for me, big things are public safety and economic security.
Exactly.
And it would be helpful if we had more law and order progressives. I'm a sort of radical centrist. First book 20 years ago was about centrism and centrist leaders in American politics. I'm a believer in quality of life policing. I think it's been misunderstood willfully in many cases. But people are unwilling to sacrifice their personal safety for some lofty ideological goal. And that is just, if that is hard to understand, then you're not living in the real world. But moreover, there is a political toll. You wrote about the cost. The last open Democratic primary had created real brand damage to Democrats that extended through the 24 election because of these sort of narrow litmus tests that were being pushed by the Twitterati.
Yeah, immigration, I think, is the one that wound up being politically really salient in 2024. So a really early conversation I had with the Biden administration, this was in March of 2021. And, White House communications is like reaching out to friends. They're trying to get some help because they are getting beat up over the border. And so they're pitching, Republicans are saying that some of Joe Biden's early actions are the reason there's so many people showing up at the border. And they've got an analysis that says that's not true, that it's shifting sands of COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm saying, look, I honestly don't know that much about this. The case you're presenting to me, it makes some sense. I could run with this. But what was your intention in those day one executive orders, right? Because they read to me like you were trying to say, well, we want to welcome more people who are making asylum claims. And so I can see why somebody is going to say, well, there's more people showing up, and they rolled out the red carpet with these orders. So, like, what do you want me to, like, what were you trying to do? And I got sort of hemming and hawing. And I was like, okay, this is not that useful a conversation journalistically. And so I asked somebody else who was like, listen, we didn't want to make a big change at the border because we didn't want a lot of people to come, but we felt that we had to throw the advocates a bone. So we put out these announcements that didn't really do anything. And that kind of political practice is not going to help you, right? It's like if you know as a White House that you do not want large numbers of people to show up at the southern border and start making asylum claims, everything you do has to like flow downhill from that.
All right.
And it just
Got quiet there for a little bit. I'm sorry. I got to make some coffee.
This situation was bad for them.
And I think it's
but
Akuma
solved it
time.
Way too late, you know. And 3.5 years into the Biden presidency, finally somebody was like, you know what? We just have to get people to stop coming, and it mostly worked. You know, like as of Election Day 2024, I was comfortable telling voters who were upset about the border situation that it's like, look, like this is now in fact under control. You know, crossings have fallen 80%. Like it's fine. But I also understand if somebody was going to say to me like, well, this was like an open sore for years. I don't have confidence in the people who've been managing it. And, you know, we're talking about solving problems, right? And the fact is, like, they were able to solve the problem, but it took them years to talk themselves into the idea that they should solve the problem that the voters were telling them they wanted solved. They were instead trying to solve some other problem, right? Which was like, you know, some like advocacy group triangulation. And that's just not good enough, right? And this is what Trump is doing now, right? So it's like people were upset about prices, and they wanted Trump to bring prices down. And on the campaign, he's like, we're going to bring the prices down. And then he becomes president, and he just like, he doesn't do it, right? He's doing things that are bringing prices up. And like a lot of politics is that, right? It's politicians refusing to pursue the agenda that they know voters want. So they'll treat it as a messaging problem, right? It's like, how do I claim to be addressing these problems? But it's like, just address the problem.
Well, but let's drill down on this specific example. I mean, Trump campaigned on tariffs, right? There, you know,
he did campaign on tariffs, yes.
And yet I'm amazed at the sort of willful ignorance on the part of so many folks who are surprised that he's actually pursuing the thing he said he'd get done. But to your point about the Biden administration, this wasn't triangulation. You know, this was a sense that you needed to tiptoe around advocacy groups for fear of offending, and therefore you would actually pursue policy or open the door to policy aims that were contrary to what you wanted to achieve and contrary to solving anything. I mean, that is the kind of drift that drives people crazy.
Absolutely.
And Biden, in many ways, was a pro-growth Democrat. He's been talking about growing the middle class with a great deal of credibility for a long time. Got a lot of big things done that many people didn't think he'd be able to get done with bipartisan margins, chips, infrastructure, et cetera. But the criticism is that on a staff level, there was a degree of staff capture. And that they were pushing a far left agenda than the president. And that didn't have the effect of creating a big tent. It had the effect of pissing people off because some of the things weren't getting done, even that would be according to the president's wishes or instincts.
Yes, and there's an aspect of that kind of staff capture to it. And I also do think there's a difference in roles. You know, the parts of the presidency that Biden excelled at was putting together legislative coalitions. You know, he did, he got Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders together on a big bill. He got a number of big bipartisan bills put together. But that's legislation. You know, that's the job really of like the Senate Majority Leader. The president is an executive office. I think a lot of our presidents historically have been governors or they've been military commanders. President Obama was an exception to that. President Trump was a businessman of sorts. But it's unusual to have someone who's kind of a Senate lifer. you know, so much of what people do, I mean, I respect and cherish many of our members of Congress, but so much of what being a member of Congress is about is kind of like finding ways to not make hard choices, you know, to just sort of like to get along with different people. And
Go along to get
even
along.
if you're running a business on the tiny scale of my Substack, or certainly if you are governor of a state, mayor of a town, it's like stuff happens where it's like one guy who you like wants more money, and another guy who you also like wants more money, and you can't give them both what they want, you know? Or like somebody says we should have a stoplight on this corner, and someone else says no, we shouldn't, and like you got to decide, right? And I think President Biden struggled with that, you know, with like things where you have to disappoint some of your friends, you have to make a kind of a tough call, you know, and like, I mean, I will say, as somebody who mostly admired, mostly supported the administration, they often got to the right place eventually, but way too slow on so many things, you know, in a way that I just don't think an effective swing state governor, say, you know, would ever have done, had that kind of choice.
Well, obviously, I mean, there's a reason we primarily elected governors, as you said, and I think that's a good note to take looking forward. But before we get to, you know, what the 28 crop might, what notes they might take, I do want you to, first of all, like, define popularism for people, because it's somewhat self-evident, but let's just make it crystal clear for folks.
Sure. I mean, it's funny that this ever became a thing, but like there was a time, you can go back, look it up. And this was in 2017, 2018. Like some Democrats were talking about abolish ICE. And lots of other people were talking about like, that's really stupid. Like don't say something insane that people are going to hate. But there was a push. There were people saying there's no such thing as swing voters. Democrats should just embrace this. They're going to mobilize their base. Popularism is the like really dumb idea, but true, that like in electoral politics, it is better to say things that people agree with than things that they disagree with. It's better to take positions that are popular than positions that are unpopular. And I'm the first to admit, like, this does not answer every question you face. Like, they're fundamental moral questions. There's also a lot of technical issues in politics, right? Like, the voters may think they want tariffs on every country around the world. That maybe sounds good to at least some people. But then when it happens, and like the stock market's collapsing and prices are going up and retailers are saying like there's not going to be anything on the shelves, like that's bad, right? You shouldn't do that. But populism, you know, especially on questions that speak to moral and cultural values, you've got to show that you align with the things that people believe in, that they care about, and not try to play to the fringes, try to maximize your retweets and engagement on social media, and not try to maximize your fundraising. You know, this is a big issue, is small dollar fundraising is a powerful sort of force in the Democratic Party. I always want to cultivate a more intelligent base of small dollar donors who will want to give to you know, candidates like John Avlon and candidates like Jared Golden, and you know, people know it. But a lot of the small donor base is really just sort of chasing virality, you know, and like Jasmine Crockett does these kind of performances that, you know, people are like, yeah, you tell them.
Oh well, whatever.
But like it's not
Screw it.
engaging with voters.
Wasting all this time.
And I think people know it's not.
Wasting all this
but just a
damn
reminder
time.
that, like, it's actually very important to pay
All right.
attention to what it is that people think.
It's important to
Especially
pay
people who
attention.
aren't,
Yeah,
like,
jeez.
obsessed with politics.
Big brain boy over here. Get out of here. Look at that big brain on Brad.
You want to play a
All right, so sorry, just bear with me for a second. Still doing some admin, sorry. Still ain't right. Ooh, shit.